Is daily life in Lake Oswego all it's really cracked up to be?
It depends on what you're looking for.
Then let's go. My name is Aaron Cullen, this is Brianna Cullen, and together we have a local real estate company right here in Portland, Oregon. So whether you're moving next week or next year, go ahead and reach out and give us a call. Information's right down there in the description area. We really love talking to people, just sharing our information about moving here to this amazing city. Today, we're talking about what's the daily life like right here in Lake Oswego. And this video is not gonna disappoint. If you guys are thinking about moving to Lake Oswego, you're gonna really enjoy this video.
And we didn't like pipe in this bird song sound effect. This is like legit.
Yeah. Yeah, this is springtime in Lake Oswego. This is what you get. So we're actually walking here in the neighborhood of Westridge. This is one of my favorite neighborhoods right here in Lake Oswego. Let's kick off our first subject we're gonna talk about. Overall, we kind of led in with, hey, is it all it's cracked up to be? So we're hoping through this conversation, we're gonna share with you guys what our just daily life is like living here. What are some of the kind of the normal things that you might not get from some of these other videos that you might see.
And I think the is it all it's cracked up to be frame is that we know that Lake Oswego has gotten more expensive, and it is the most expensive area in the Portland metro. And so there are, you know, a number of areas to choose from, neighborhoods in Portland itself and other small towns like Lake Oswego. And so that's really what we want to get into. We live here, we've lived here for 5 years. Daily life for you is going to depend on your stage of life, whether you have young kids, older kids, no kids at all. That is the biggest impact probably on your daily life. It's also really worth mentioning that daily life changes a lot here with the seasons. And to me, that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. It means that at this time of year, here we are at the end of May, heading into the summer months, life does feel a little more relaxed and easier because we tend to spend a ton of time outside from about now through September or October, really, because we've been cooped up for the winter, and it's so beautiful here in the summer months that we want to be at the farmer's market on the weekends and eating dinner in our backyard in the evening and just letting the kids spend as much time outside as possible. And so daily life this time of year is pretty different than it is in the rainier, darker months when we're doing cozier things inside. We're spending more time going to the library and roasting marshmallows in our fireplace and doing what we can to make the most of that cozier season.
And one of the things that I want to highlight that you can do living right here in Lake Oswego, just on a daily practice, is go for a nice walk or hike, or kind of combination of like a walk hike. Did I make up that term? A walk hike?
Well, a walk hike is really popular in Lake Oswego and in Portland because you can walk to a hiking trail down the street from your house in a lot of different areas. We have a hiking trail down the street from our house, and so often it is a walk hike. I was just telling Aaron as we were getting ready to film that the walk we're doing right now is one that I used to do all the time when we first moved here, and then my walk loop has sort of changed over the years, as you know, happens as you get to know areas. One of the daily life things for us and for a lot of people is walking our kids to school.
Before we had kids, you know, we all kind of have those images. Hey, what would it be like when you start a family? And you pull references from when you were a kid or maybe TV. For me, it was like walking our kids to elementary school. You know, maybe not middle school or high school, but just be able to have that experience when they're young and being really close to elementary school. And so that's exactly what we did in buying right here in Lake Oswego.
That's a great thing about living in an area with great public schools, is that you're more likely to live near your local elementary school. I remember before we had kids, we visited some friends in Houston and Kingwood, and their kids could walk to school through this little special path in their neighborhood that was kind of a shortcut to school. The funny thing is we're coming on a little shortcut path up in this neighborhood to Westridge Elementary that reminds me of that. Like, I wanted that experience too.
Yeah. We're just passing by this house right here in Westridge, and I just toured this for a client. This home, actually, I really like. There's a lot of potential, and it's at the lower price point for this neighborhood. It's priced in the $800,000 range, and it's a little on the smaller side, but it still is a 4-bed, 2.5 bath. It's this, not a split level, but it's kind of like a half split level, and it's really outdated, but it's well taken care of. So there's a lot of potential here with this one.
A lot of the housing stock in Lake Oswego is a little bit outdated, so that's not totally outside of the realm.
Nope.
And that's a really good price for Westridge.
Yeah, one thing about a lot of Lake Oswego, it is hilly in here. So we're about to go uphill a little bit, and it's nothing too crazy, but it does give for some nice gentle curves to the streets. I like having a little bit of elevation changes, in the neighborhood. It's kind of nice.
It means you can go for a walk and really get your cardio in. My little brother was visiting us over the weekend, and I took him to walk to pick up our daughter from school on Friday, and the walk back home is all uphill, and he was giving me a hard time and saying, "You always live in the hilliest places." And I said, you need to get in shape.
Yeah, he's in his 20s. I'm in my 40s. I think he needs to get a little better.
He doesn't have those
shape.
little kids to keep up with like we do.
Yeah.
Daily walking here, just the ability to do that, even in the winter months when it's rainy, we don't get a ton of snow. We have a fairly mild climate, and so you really can get outside.
With daily life in Lake Oswego, you're going to be able to walk to an elementary school, most likely, because there's 7 elementary schools kind of all throughout Lake Oswego. So chances are you'll be within walking distance to one. It just depends how far you're willing to walk.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the carpool line. Not everyone makes their kids walk to school in the rain like I do.
But you can do it if you want to.
But if you want to, you can. And part of that is also daily life in Lake Oswego involves a lot of natural beauty. Lake Oswego is a living forest. There's a lot of protection around the native trees here. So we really are in a lot of greenery, a lot of forest. There's so many birds and flowers and wildlife. We see deer in our yard all the time. So there's just a strong nature and beauty element to life here.
Yep. Sometimes I'll pick my kids up from school. We have 2 different schools we're going to right now, so don't walk both kids. So when I do pick up, a lot of times I'll pick them up and then take them to a park for like an hour, and we'll go do different parks. There's so many different parks here. And different parks have like different things. Some have better swings, some have better monkey bars, some have better slides. Some
If your daily life does not involve like elementary school kids, does not apply to you, but
if you do, there's a lot of great options. And usually when you go to a park, you might be the only ones there, or there might just be a handful of a couple other kids. And I really like that element to it. And I bring that in to talk about kind of natural beauty, because I just took my kids to a park yesterday and we were the only kids there. Call it the Underground Slide Park. Don't ask me why they named it. And it does have this giant slide on a hill, and it's really a nature park. And I was just sitting there on a rock watching them play, having a great time. There's an equestrian center right behind them with
hiking
kids.
trails on the other side.
Kids were riding their horses back in the field behind the park. Butts up against all these amazing hiking trails through huge forested trees, and it was just so beautiful out. There was hawks out circling around, and it was just so calm, but a little stormy type weather. Like, even when there's cloudy, stormy weather, it can still be nice, just to get out there. You kind of get part of that nature piece, that we tend to need on that daily basis.
Something that makes me think of in terms of daily life is actually how much you can fit in here. Not that we're trying to like pack our days full of activities, but because this is a small town and it's a self-contained town, so we're very close to Portland. You could be in Portland every day if you worked in Portland, but if you don't, everything you need is right here in Lake Oswego.
Yeah.
And everything you need is within an 11-minute drive. And so that means, yesterday afternoon, Aaron walked to pick up our daughter from school. They drove to pick up our son. They went to a park, and all of that is very doable to then be home,
Yep.
Relatively early.
Exactly.
You can fit a lot in.
And here we are at one of the local parks that we just walked to right here in Westridge. Now, let's also talk about how quiet it is here. Let's listen.
There's a house being remodeled right over here and some kids on the playground, but we do remark all the time, like being in our backyard or on a walk, just how quiet it is here. I said my little brother was visiting this weekend, and he lives in a really walkable area in Indianapolis, and he was talking about like getting a noise machine so that he could sleep at night, because it's urban, and here it's just the sound is of birds and really nothing.
No, it's really nice. Like when we eat dinner out in our backyard, we're just out there playing. There's literally no other sounds but nature. We have a little water fountain, the trickling of water, the birds sing, hear the occasional car drive by, but it's just really quiet. in Lake Oswego. First Edition, if you live in there, even First Edition is going to be pretty quiet, but that's going to be maybe one of the more louder areas. That's one of the things I really like about living here, and on the daily life, I think you'll probably appreciate it as well.
So another big part of daily life here kind of goes on the opposite side of quiet, is that I think we are painting a picture of like a very bucolic, quiet life here. But one of my favorite things is just running into people that we know almost anywhere that we go, whether it's the farmer's market on the weekend or, dropping my kids off for an activity, going out to eat. We often run into friends, acquaintances, clients, and I love that. It makes me feel very rooted in the community, and we have a sort of web of belonging here that I think is really hard to find in modern life.
Yeah, it really is. And that's one of the things we were hoping to get out of moving here, and we successfully found. As I've gotten to know the city really well and other pockets, there's a lot of other areas in Portland where you can get that same community feeling as well. So it's not just a Lake Oswego thing, but Lake Oswego, they're all a little different. So Lake Oswego has its own unique charm. So does a lot of other little pockets.
What we have to compare it to, we moved here from Los Angeles several years ago. Aaron and I lived like fairly close together before we ever met. We shopped at the same Trader Joe's, but we never met. I didn't run into people I knew in that part of LA ever. It wasn't until we moved out to Topanga Canyon where, sometimes we would bump into people that we knew at coffee or something like that.
Yeah, and there is a lot of value of getting that community bond when you live in a smaller town or a community where there's a community center and a place where everybody kind of gathers for that farmer's market.
Holiday events.
And holiday events. And that brings us to our next subject, which is holiday events.
And maybe holidays are a little more magical or special than daily life.
Yeah.
But I think it really is the way that you make memories and traditions. And here in Lake Oswego, the holidays feel so special. Yes, that involves Christmas, but also Easter and going on egg hunts around town, like Halloween, and just the different streets and neighborhoods that come together for trick-or-treating. There's a couple of streets in town that are like famous for trick-or-treating Halloween night that people gather at.
And it's not just fun for the kids, it's fun for the adults. This last couple of years kind of won me over on going to the more crowded, popular streets. The parents there, they really get into it. I mean, they go over the top. They'll even have some like adult beverage drinks to hand out to the adults, or shots and syringes, a bloody shot, but it's really a Bloody Mary. Just having a lot of fun with it. And not only that, but then you also have the summer concert series that the city puts on as well. And so I'm kind of lumping that in there kind of with like festivities and holidays that the city helps to organize.
Right, we have a 4th of July parade in town where it really feels like the whole town is there. It is packed and the celebration lasts all day. That feels really special, but then there are also, like Aaron said, concerts in the park and movies in the park in the summertime where people are getting outside and gathering. There's also a lot of opportunities to either be on the lake if you have lake access, or you're at the swim park, which is public access, or down at George Rogers on the Willamette River in the summertime to get that like beach time and water time in.
And there's really too many to name. And so there's so many cool, just local little activities throughout the year that you can incorporate in the different seasons. So I think that's really neat. Nowhere that I've lived before has really had that.
I think one thing that just comes to mind is how many people now are working remotely and are spending their workday on the phone and on Zoom. And it can be kind of draining and a little bit like lacking in that feeling of being plugged in with other people. And so one of the things that I love about living here is that it's a small town where you can get out during the day. So even if you have that type of job, you can meet a friend for a walk in person, like with a real human, or for coffee. I had lunch with some women yesterday downtown, and that really doesn't take more than, a little over an hour out of my day to go do that in the middle of the workday.
Yeah, and you're eating outside. Did you eat outside?
No, we didn't. It was a little windy yesterday.
Okay. Well, you could have.
But we were eating in the window corner of the restaurant. Almost felt like we were
Taco,
outside.
Which is a great Mexican place here. We also have another Mexican favorite, which go ahead and DM me and I'll tell you that one if you're coming out to visit.
So I think whether daily life here appeals to you is really going to depend on your stage of life and what you're looking for. But there's so much more than even what we shared. So if you are curious about life in Lake Oswego, please reach out and we can talk about the lifestyle you're hoping for and help point you in the right direction.
My name's Aaron Cullen. This is Brianna Cullen. We do have a local real estate company here. So again, reach out. Information's right down in the description area, and book a Zoom call and have a discussion. Whether you're moving next week or next year, we're here to help. And if you guys enjoyed this video and got a lot of value out of it, stay tuned for the next one coming up right now.